It's been a fair while since I've really taken note of an animated film that wasn't made by one of the major studios. The last time was probably coming up to a year ago with the release of Spellbound by Skydance Animation. Like I said, I generally don't stray off the beaten path too much anymore simply because I just don't have the time. That being said though, a couple of weeks ago I saw the first trailer for the upcoming Netflix animated film In Your Dreams get recommended to me on YouTube. It had already been out for a couple of months, so the trailer was somewhat old news, but I gave it a watch. I liked it well enough, even though it did have a little bit of, an unsettling feel at times. Then I promptly forgot all about it and moved on, until just the other day when they released the second trailer, and this one drew me in a whole lot more, and so I figured we'd talk about it today. We'll dive into some more general things in a bit, but I suppose for now, we should just go into the trailer and see what we can find. The trailer, of course, comes along with a little blurb that gives a synopsis on the plot and what's going to happen over the course of the movie. It reads, "Get ready for the adventure of a nighttime. Stevie and her younger brother Elliot embark on a journey into the absurd landscape of their own dreams in search of the Sandman, who holds the power to grant them their ultimate dream come true." That synopsis, it immediately got me hooked, to tell you the truth. You mention the Sandman and immediately my mind goes to the DreamWorks film Rise of the Guardians that came out back in 2012. And obviously, this is not connected to that and they're not the same character or anything of the sort. That being said though, it was enough to trigger a nostalgia response and make me take some interest. As for the rest of the synopsis, well, don't have much to say. I think that the concept of it being a dream world definitely has a lot of potential, and it means that it can be about anything, and anything could happen. That being said though, I think it also means there's potential for the story to get very bogged down and go on lots of side tangents. That's the problem with infinite possibility and choice. Sometimes it can become too much, and you're unable to decide what something needs to be. Also, it comes out on November 14th, not bad. Not too long to wait now, just a little bit over a month. I tell you what, it is shaping up to be a big November and December so far in terms of releases. Now though, it's onto the trailer. Okay, so the trailer starts off with a little montage of Stevie making some breakfast. I don't know why, but seeing food being cooked in animated format, it's just one of my favourite things. Seems like here they're having some French toast. Hell yeah, love me some French toast. Man, it was all going so well until I saw these kids. I don't know what it is about it. They just kind of give me the creeps, specifically the girl. Honestly, most of the other characters are fine, it's really just her face. I don't know, it's like a modern Polar Express type of thing that's going on. Her little brother approaches her with a magic trick, which is him basically predicting that she's going to call him annoying, as after all, she's probably said those exact words to him countless times. We then get into some of the drama. As they're eating one morning, their mum announces that she's going to be leaving town super early. This leads to a shot of Stevie looking sadly out the window as her mum's driving away, before she and her dad have a talk at a kid's diner about her questions about what's going on. She asks whether her mum's moving away, and the reply is that he doesn't want her to worry. Okay, so from here it becomes pretty easy to somewhat piece together what the story's going to be about. They're going to go into the dream world in search of the Sandman who can grant their wish of whatever. The idea that Stevie clearly has and ropes the brother into is wishing their parents would stay together, because it seems as if they're going to be separating and their mum's going to move away to a new place and their family's going to fall apart. Obviously, I think at the start of this journey, Stevie and Elliot, they're not going to be all that close. I think we're going to be in a status quo of Stevie trying to be the older and more mature sister, and is finding her little brother's youthful and somewhat eccentric personality grating and annoying. It's a tried and tested status quo for on-screen siblings. They have the older sibling hate on the younger one for most of the movie, then they have some big blow-up fight and one of them gets in danger or they're separated or whatever. Either the elder has to try to save the younger one and they come to a better understanding and realize what they almost lost, or the younger saves the elder and the elder realizes they've been wrong about their little sibling all along. Thus, the whole quest is about saving their family and bringing it closer together, but not in the way they imagined. I doubt they're actually going to be able to stop the divorce. Either it's going to be an ending like Spellbound, where Alien realized her parents weren't happy anymore and thus they would be better off separating, or it's going to be revealed that this was all one big misunderstanding and that their parents were never splitting up in the first place. I would expect that the former is more likely than the latter though. It seems that Stevie is a bit of a bookworm and gets somewhat lost in her imagination, judging by the huge pile of books in the next scene. I also just noticed they also share a room, so that's yet another one of those points of contention I would expect. The older you get, the less keen you are to share a room with your sibling, and this is only amplified when one of them is fast approaching puberty and the other isn't. Also, I'm still looking at her face. It is her face specifically that looks wrong to me. Ugh. Anyway, her brother finds a book called The Legend of the Sandman, and it obviously tells the story of how it can make your dreams come true. Stevie seems like she's going to be skeptical and think that it's just a story, whereas Elliot seems like the type of kid that would straight up believe it. I really enjoyed the humour on display here. I can see a crack Houdini. I know it's a pretty silly, low-hanging fruit type of joke, but at the same time, I just found it very funny. I feel like they really managed to capture that type of snarky banter that elder siblings inflict on their little brothers and sisters. The crawl away to try to salvage it was even better. I have 100% tried stuff like that before. Before they go to sleep, they have Elliot ask Stevie what her hypothetical Sandman dream would be. She's looking at a framed photo of their family, so yeah, very clear that I'm somewhat on the money with my earlier speculation about the family and what the wish is going to be. However, the fact that Elliot's asking something like this makes me think that she hasn't told him about the fact that she thinks their parents are splitting up. I think it seems very likely she's going to bottle up those feelings and keep everything to herself. And so I think we just found the source of the drama that's going to explode and cause a rift. She's hiding the truth from him, and she's going to yell it at him in a moment of anger, which is going to lead to chaos because maybe he runs away, they get separated by the villain, or anything like that. This is probably the last time that the trailer was in any way normal. It all goes absolutely crazy from here on out. They just go full fever dream. It's like the trip through the mind in the first Inside Out movie, but on acid. We start off with Stevie waking up in dreamland in a bowl of cereal before she screams when she notices one of them talking to her. She falls backwards trying to escape, and the scene cuts to her falling through the sky. And obviously it's spliced together to make it look like she's on some crazy trip, but in actuality, I'm thinking these are two different scenes. After all, she seems to spend more time in this little food town, as there are later scenes where they're still there. I'm not sure they're going to have them keep coming back to this one place, and so it likely all happens early on. Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics begins to play, which is actually a really good song choice for this trailer, I have to say. It's topical, it's iconic, and it's just really catchy and upbeat. It sets a great tone for the trailer. When she's falling through the night sky, she lands on a flying bed, which her brother's already on, and it seems that the bed might be a character of its own. One of the comments I saw was that this was such a breath of fresh air because it feels wholly original. This comment got hundreds of likes, but is that really the case? From this trailer alone, I was seeing a lot of inspiration and callbacks to older animated films. I mean, the whole Dreamworld premise seems like a cross between Inside Out and Wonderland. The flying bed's heavily reminiscent of Carpet from Aladdin, and then there's this Bing Bong equivalent childhood toy from the past in Baloney Tony. I'm not trying to hate on it because these types of callbacks often work well and are fun. I'm just trying to keep us honest. At some point, they stumble across an old stuffed giraffe named Baloney Tony, who is Elliot's childhood toy, and yeah, you can tell that this dude is going to be the best part of the movie by far. They'll meet him in, I guess, a food town filled with all the living food creatures. Later on in the trailer, we see Stevie cuddling a sausage dog and then licking him in one of the funniest scenes of the trailer, because the sausage then reveals he's just a regular dude who can speak, and he thinks she's weird for licking him. I agree. Who the hell even licks a sausage like that? I feel like the outside of a sausage really does just have minimal flavor, so what was the plan? Those things, they likely happen early on. At some point she hops on the bed, they return to the town, they meet Tony, and then they meet the villain who's named Nightmara, who they have to contend with if they want to meet the Sandman and get their wish. Gotta say, I like her design. Really simplistic, of course, but still very ominous. Although judging by the tone of the film, I would not be shocked if it turns out that underneath the dark fog, she has a very non-threatening appearance. We then get a look at some of their trials, many of which are just pretty much classic nightmare scenarios. Stevie loses all of her teeth, which, as somebody who has had a tooth crack in half and fall out whilst I was eating, yeah, that one got me. Ugh. Hated seeing her teeth fall out like that. No thank you. It's this primal disgust that just builds within. They find themselves trying to avoid being eaten by a giant cannibal hot dog, and then they're on the high seas about to get shipwrecked as a result of a giant fish coming out of the water. Man, they're really hitting a best-of of my specific dislikes. Getting the hairs to stick up on the back of my neck. I hate the idea of giant sea monsters lurking in dark waters. They seem to travel down a ball pit, almost like one of those water rides like It's a Small World or something like that, and they get attacked by one of the animatronics. And it seems like they actually get hit by this one. They get attacked by a giant teddy bear, and then they end up in a naked dream. And this always feels like the biggest, tropiest dream that everybody always has, naked in public, but I can't actually say I've ever had one. We get a glimpse at the Sandman's castle, and reiterate that their quest is to try to save their family, before we cut to the trio surrounded by zombie food. I'm thinking this is going to be right after they meet Nightmara for the first time. She's going to turn the food people from that city into zombies, and they'll attack the group, which will in turn lead to the sparkly fart gag, which, unfortunately, that didn't make me laugh. I'm not a snob who hates fart jokes. That just wasn't for me, I guess. I think I would have legitimately just preferred him to straight up unleash some nasty baloney farts and for them to escape that way. So that's the end of the trailer, and I will say, I came away from it feeling kind of intrigued. Something about the animation, though, does give me the heebie-jeebies, and don't get me wrong, it's not the plot. I think the plot's supposed to give you the heebie-jeebies a little bit, but it's more the faces of the characters, specifically the girl. I just don't like it. That being said, though, I think beyond that, the film has a good chance to be very high quality. It's being directed and co-written by Alex Wu in his directorial debut for a long-form film. He's had a long history at Pixar before this, having worked as a story artist on a bunch of big-name movies such as Ratatouille, WALL-E, Finding Dory, and The Incredibles 2. Absolute top-tier classic films. Then there was also Cars 2 and The Good Dinosaur, but those are clearly quite not on the same level. Either way, though, I think working through that Pixar golden age, it is a good sign for a budding director. The cast is also shaping up to be pretty good, but I think my favourite is Craig Robinson as Baloney Tony. He was great in this trailer, and I loved his voiceover work in The Bad Guys and The Bad Guys 2. He's just going nuts in it. I feel like his character is going to carry the film, and it'll play nicely off the kids' characters too. In the end though, beyond that, there isn't really much more to look at within the trailer itself. I'm actually so intrigued because they hardly showed any story beyond the hook to get them into the dream world and some action scenes, but not anything of the Sandman and barely anything of the villain. I like that they were able to craft this compelling trailer without spoiling too much of anything really. I do feel like making trailers like this is somewhat of a dying art when studios love to spoil things to try to get people in the door. Will this movie be the next big thing? I don't know. We'll have to wait for November to find out. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the trailer for In Your Dreams? Did you like it? Hate it? Are you excited for the movie? Maybe not? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.